What's so wrong with going to chain pet stores and buying animals? So in every single one of my videos where I'm talking about where you can buy reptiles, especially like my care videos and things like that, I always say not to go to big chain pet stores and buy your reptiles from there, but I never really go into detail as to why you shouldn't do that. So I thought I'd make a video telling why you shouldn't do that. Now, when I'm talking about big chain pet stores, I'm talking about the big chain pet stores that are nationwide. I'm not talking about any kind of locally family-owned pet stores. For the most part, I feel like locally owned and family-owned pet stores do a really good job of taking care of their animals. And I know the one that I always go to, she goes to reptile expos and gets her reptiles directly from there and directly from local breeders. So if there's a small pet shop like that in your area and you trust the people that own it, then 100% yes, buy your animals from there. But we're talking about big chain pet stores like Petco and PetSmart and places like that. And obviously what I'm going to list doesn't go for every single location. I know that my local PetSmart does an absolutely amazing job taking care of their reptiles. These are just things that have happened repeatedly over and over on a regular basis with stores in these chains throughout the country. First of all, one of the really big things is where these chains get their animals from. Even my local PetSmart that does a really good job taking care of their animals still get their animals in this way, and that is from reptile mills. Reptile mills are places just like puppy mills where they just breed reptiles over and over and over without any regard for the reptile's well-being. They're just large reptile factories, basically. There have been numerous videos and research done about where these chain stores get their pets from, and for the most part, a lot of places get them from places like Reptiles by Mac. Places like Reptiles by Mac have a really bad reputation in the reptile community because they are a reptile mill, and people have gone into these locations with hidden cameras and found that they just toss sick reptiles to the side without any care at all for their well-being, and that's just not somewhere where I would want to get my reptiles from. And a lot of times the bad treatment doesn't stop at the reptile mills, it continues into the store. Any quick Google or YouTube search will bring back evidence of these animals being treated terribly and definitely not in the habitats that they're supposed to be in. So one of the huge things that these stores do is they keep baby leopard geckos and baby bearded dragons on things like calci sand. The use of sand itself is widely debated in the reptile community, but calci sand is pretty much a no from everyone that it's not okay, and especially for little babies that don't know any better and that are already in these bad environments. They're going to eat that calci sand and become impacted and become really sick. Another thing that happens quite often is keeping things like ball pythons who are in the middle of shed in a tiny tank with a very low humidity. This is one that I've personally seen multiple times in person, going into these pet stores, and ball pythons are there barely shedding in pieces, and you look at the humidity and it's like 10, 15, 20%. I've actually brought these things to the pet store's attention, and usually they just respond with, yeah, that's how they're supposed to shed. Anyone that knows anything about snakes knows that they're supposed to shed in one big piece, and if they're having difficulty shedding, you're supposed to bump up their humidity. It's not supposed to be below 20%. They also keep very large numbers of these reptiles in those tiny little square tanks where they're all just standing on top of each other and walking through their own poop, and they're just absolutely miserable. On top of all that, there's been multiple videos of people that have found sick animals in the chain store's dumpster where they just decided not to get these animals any kind of medical care and they just chunked them into the dumpster instead. That small tidbit alone that it's been done ever at all was enough to make me never ever want to buy reptiles from any chain reptile store. And a lot of this isn't because they're intentionally treating the animals bad, minus the one that was found in the dumpster. A lot of it is just because the employees don't know better. They're just brought in and told to take care of these animals with very, very little training, if any at all, most of the time. But of course, when that happens, not only are these animals put in a bad environment, but these employees are then passing along this incorrect knowledge to someone who may be getting their first leopard gecko or their first bearded dragon or snake or whatever. And that's how a lot of reptiles end up in homes where they become malnourished, or they get metabolic bone disease, or they're not eating, or whatever. It's because these people that bought these animals were never given the tools to succeed. And that's why in my videos I stress that you need to do your own research when you're getting these animals. A lot of you guys are just reptile enthusiasts and just love watching videos about reptiles, but there's also a lot of people who may have just gotten their first animal, their first reptile that they've ever had, and I feel like it's very important to stress to research these animals, because these people may have just come from a chain pet store and just been given an entire list of incorrect information, and I feel like they need tools to succeed. Because I know when I got Zaz, my first bearded dragon, the information that I was given from the pet store was all incorrect. It was just an absolutely terrible way to get started into reptiles. And Zaz wasn't even from a big chain pet store. She was from a local pet store, and I don't want to say that the guy didn't care, but I feel like he was just really, really behind on the proper bearded dragon care techniques. So I could just imagine being set up even worse from a pet store. And I absolutely love to do research. I love to read things, but a lot of people don't learn that way. A lot of people like videos. So I just hope to help you guys in caring for your animals the best that you can, even if they weren't given the best start.
But also do other research too, because I'm not an expert.
And also hopefully to grab those few people that were about to head out to a chain pet store and buy their animal. Hopefully I can curve them into a different direction. Anyways, enough rambling about that. So all of these things, reptile meals, poor care in the store, the employees not knowing what they're doing at all that leads to sick animals. And if you've never had a reptile before and you bring home a sick animal, then you have no idea what is going on when your animal isn't eating, or when your animal is acting lethargic, anything like that. Then a lot of times people just don't know what's happening. I know that I've been to a pet store and seen bearded dragons without toes and without tips of their tails, and was just told that it was normal. Zaz actually is missing about the last inch, maybe even 2 inches of her tail, and when I got her I was told that that was completely normal and that it was just something that happened to bearded dragons. But actually that happens when you have a lot of babies that are in a tank together and they're nipping at each other and they're biting each other's tails off and they're being super playful, but it's pretty aggressive, and that can lead to infection, especially if it's brand new and it just happened. Also, being kept in environments like that with animals just walking all over each other and walking through each other's poop and things like that can lead to parasites. And if these animals aren't in the proper setups, they could be malnourished, or they could have just ingested a whole bunch of calci sand. All of these things lead to very costly vet visits, and if you've never had a reptile before, you may not know reptile vet visits are expensive, and you really, really, really need to know what you're getting into. And that's another giant reason not to get these animals, because you might not even know that they're sick. And if all of that isn't convincing enough, let's look at prices. Pet stores like that up prices like crazy, and that's because they buy these reptiles and they want to make a very large profit. So if you were to go to one of these stores and you were looking at buying just a normal ball python, no special morph or anything, just a normal ball python, you're looking at anywhere from about $60 to $80. Now if you were to go to a local reptile show like Repticon, or just local shows that are held in your area, and you were to buy that same normal ball python, you're looking at about 20 bucks, if that much. I know for Sylvanas, who is a pastel ball python, we paid, I can't remember if it was $20 or $30, but it wasn't a lot at all. And she's a pastel, she's not even a normal ball python. And those cost differences are going to be about the same across the board. You're looking to spend a lot more at the pet store than you would at reptile shows. Now, one issue I know a lot of people have is that they don't know where else to get these animals from. There are numerous Facebook groups. If you just type in your area and reptiles, there's usually buy and sell. There's rehoming Facebook sites. You can look on Craigslist. I would say though, if you get anything from Craigslist, make sure that you are checking and looking at the animal and making sure that it looks like it's healthy. A lot of times if you research on reptilemagazine.com, they'll have a section on there about healthy looking animals so that you know what you're getting into. And if you're looking for reptile shows, which I always suggest, that's where I get my animals, that's where I get food, that's where I try to get tanks and things like that from, because it's always a lot cheaper. You can go to repticon.com and they have a full list of all of their shows and what days they're going to be where. They're almost always held on Saturdays and Sundays, so it'll be the whole weekend. And yeah, there's Repticons all over the United States. You can also go to morphmarket.com. Morphmarket is an amazing website where breeders sell their animals and they ship them to you, and those prices again are going to be a lot cheaper. You can research and find some really good breeders that also ship and just go to their websites, and they will have all the pictures of all the animals that they have available that you can buy. Buying online from Morph Market or directly from websites though, you will have to pay that shipping, so keep that in mind. I always just suggest finding someone or something local. And that's about it, guys. Hopefully I convinced you not to go and buy reptiles from big chain pet stores. I feel like I've been talking about a lot of really touchy, controversial topics lately, which is really weird for me because I don't like confrontation at all. But I do feel like all of these things need to be said, and I needed to bring light to them because, like I said, I know a lot of beginners watch these videos and they just need to know. But yeah, guys, hopefully I helped some of you out. If you want to see pictures and videos of my animals throughout the week, please don't forget to head on over to Instagram and follow me there at l.622, where you can do just that. And if you like this video, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. I put out new videos every single Sunday. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.